OST 2016. This is interviews, music reviews, and more. This is The Hodder Show.
What is up, everybody? We are rolling out of here today on another special presentation here from The Hodder Show. As you can probably already tell, my voice is a little more subdued than normal, as if you tuned in last week with the Omnibus episode, I mentioned how I was pretty certain I was heading into a nasty cold sickness where I was going to lose my voice. I wanted to be prepared, which I'm glad I did that, because as much as I hate that I get sick so often, you get to know your body. And I knew I was going to wake up with barely any voice that next day, and I did. And as you can hear, I'm still just at the tail end of this thing here, so I don't have enough of a voice to get through a full episode. However, I wanted to do something special for you guys here today, because I wanted to have some content for you this week, and I thought that this would be a really fun time to share something that normally only my patrons get to experience. And that is the Tapes of Trepidation horror narration podcast. I do at least one episode a month of this on my Patreon. Most of the time I do more than one episode a month though. And this past February 4th was the 7th year anniversary of the Hodder Show. And I dropped a very, very special episode of Tapes of Trepidation for the 7th year anniversary of the Hodder Show, in which I actually wrote a CreepyPasta based on the Hodder Show and then recorded it. And it was a lot of fun. It was a very, very, very last minute idea that I had kind of to celebrate the 7th year anniversary of the Hodder Show. But I got a lot of really great feedback on it. And I figured, you know what? In celebration of the 7 years of the show, and to give you guys a little peek on what the Tapes of Trepidation is all about, I figured this would be a really fun opportunity to share this with you guys. At the end of the story, I'm going to break down a little bit about the story and how I wrote it and kind of the behind the scenes of that, because I think it's a really interesting story, especially for those who have been around since the beginning of the Hodder Show. You're going to really enjoy the story, I think. And I'm going to talk a little bit about Tapes of Trepidation at the end as well. So stay tuned for that. But right now, grab yourself a great pair of headphones. Maybe dim the lights a little bit. Sit back and enjoy this special presentation of the Tapes of Trepidation horror narration podcast, tape number 16. 7 years ago, I started a podcast, but I only recorded 30 episodes.
On a cold and bleak afternoon, while cleaning out your basement, you discover a box of old cassette tapes. You have no idea how they got down here, or where they came from. There are no clues on the box except for a simple message written in marker. Do not play. You feel your heartbeat faster as curiosity overtakes you. Turning away from your fear, press the play button and realize your worst nightmares. These are the Tapes of Trepidation. Tape number 16. 7 years ago, I started a podcast, but I only recorded 30 episodes. Okay. So, my name is TJ Hodder, and 7 years ago today, I started the Hodder Show podcast. And since then, the Hodder Show has been dropping regular content every week, interviewing lots of different guests, sharing opinions on music, and more has been thrown in there as well. There's been over 362 episodes now, not including bonus episodes and things like that, of course. It's been pretty remarkable that the show has been going this long and has had the reach that it does. But there's only one problem with all this. I stopped recording content for the Hodder Show on May 12th, 2016. I really enjoyed recording and interviewing people, but I got too busy with life and was a little disheartened after my first live episode was a bomb. So I made the decision to walk away from it, like so many others before me, and didn't give it a second thought. That was until a few weeks later I received a message from someone, a friend, complimenting the most recent episode where I reviewed A Battle of the Bands. Obviously, I was confused, to say the least. So I hopped on the feed, and sure enough, on May 15th, 2016, the Hodder Show posted an episode. But I didn't record it. Now, before you start calling me crazy, understand that I know that you hear my voice, and that every episode since then features myself interviewing someone or sharing an opinion on music or something like that. But I swear to you, whoever this person is, it isn't me. I understand there's even been lots of video episodes, vlogs, and that type of content where you can clearly see me. But I'm telling you that I, TJ Hodder, the real TJ Hodder, did not record those. The people that have done interviews in person on the show, I've never met them. I don't even know who half them are, but they claim to have been at my house, which is impossible because I never met them. I thought maybe I was suffering from a multiple personality disorder or some short-term memory loss, but after countless tests and therapy sessions, I haven't gotten any answers. If you ask anyone in my life about the show, they have memories of me doing it for the last 7 years. Even my wife talks about all my recording sessions. I can't tell anyone in my life about what's going on because they think I'm joking, or that it's some kind of a prank. Or even other podcasts that TJ Hodder started with friends and that were posted, but I never did that. I don't have any memories of doing them. These never happened. Believe me when I tell you that I haven't owned any sort of microphone or recording equipment since I left all my gear at my friend's place where I did the 30th episode live cast. I literally had to go and borrow this stuff from him just to record this, to get this out there. And yet, they're all there on Spotify. 2 Guys in a Game, mics and beers, other things that I've been involved in, or they're on YouTube, and wherever else you can find podcasts. All 362 plus episodes of The Hodder Show can be found on tons of different podcast apps and sites. But I never recorded them. You may be asking yourself, if you're still listening to this, if you didn't record them, then who did? Well, I don't have an answer for that. God, I wish I did. But I don't. Because when I turn on an episode, I don't hear what you guys hear. I hear nothing but screams. Horrible, blood-curdling screams that just replay in my head for hours after I turn it off. I hear them all the time now. And when I tune into the video episodes, I just see myself, or rather a version of myself, staring at the camera, smiling. But it's not me. So please, if you're hearing this, I'm begging you, report the podcast, flag it, block it on all your devices, unfollow it on social media. Don't let the word spread. I don't know what has taken over the feed, but I can feel in my heart that it's dangerous. If it was to gain popularity, if other people were to hear what I hear when I tune in or see what I see, that can't happen. My name is TJ Hodder, and I stress this one last time. Whoever is recording, editing, and posting the Hodder Show podcast is not me.
All right, folks, I hope that you enjoyed this special presentation of the Tape to Trepidation Horror Narration Podcast, my Patreon exclusive podcast. You can go and check out all 17 current episodes of the Tape to Trepidation right now by joining my Patreon at the $5 or above tier. Or if you want to hear a little more of what I have to offer for Tape to Trepidation, go back to October in the Hodder Show feed here that you're listening to this on, and check out my special presentation of episodes 1 through 6 that I did for Halloween to give you guys a little taste. So that's now 7 episodes that you guys have heard, but there's 10 other ones that you have not heard. And I got a lot more coming. I have way too much fun with this project, and I don't just do stories that I write myself. I've actually only done a couple, really. I do CreepyPastas and no sleep stories, internet horror stories, urban legend type stuff, submitted stories as well. And I also would like to point out, it's not just me who does all the voicing and voice acting and stuff for these stories. I have had a couple of my very talented friends lend me their voices, such as my friends Liliana Roman, who she has done, gosh, I think she's done 3 for me now. My boy Eric Phones, who, as this is being dropped, I will hype. He's doing one coming up. And something tells me you may or may not hear from him next week here on the show. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. And as well as my buddy Tanner Wood from Baseline Feed has also lent me his voice as well. And I got a few other ones coming. I'm really excited about it. So this project isn't just something that I do for myself for fun. It's also kind of an avenue for people who are maybe new to the voiceover game, or who just want to kind of get their reps in, so to speak, put some time behind the microphone while being a part of something really cool and recording some really fantastic content. And the sky's really the limit. And I really hope that if you are listening to this still, that you enjoyed the story and that you'll maybe consider joining the Patreon so you can check out more. I can tell you right now, in March, there's going to be 3 stories, and I do at least guarantee you 1 story every month. That is my absolute guarantee. But I can pretty much assure you that going forward for the rest of the year, there's not only going to be 1 story because I have way too much fun with that. Just like I had way too much fun with this episode, and I wanted to kind of break it down a little bit, because some longtime listeners of the show who listen to this, you may have kind of picked a couple of things out that was really fun. And man, like just the whole concept of this came from a really silly question I had to myself one night where actually, you know what? Full disclosure, this story was actually written and recorded the night before. So yeah, just go ahead and throw that out there. This was actually literally recorded the night before. So February 3rd. I wrote it I thought of the idea during the day and wrote it, ran it through a really, really basic grammar check because that's all I had time for. I then recorded it when I got home that night, super late, did a couple takes of it, ended up using the first take because, as I usually do in these situations, I just found that I really captured what I wanted to capture. Kind of rewrote a couple of things on the go, and here it was. And it's funny because the whole story is that the Hodder Show stopped being a thing after the live cast, which, a little behind the scenes on that, after the first live cast, I had a lot of doubts in my ability because I had no business doing a live podcast at that time period. But I had some encouragement, not only from my producer, Mr. Brandon Bowden of Bowden Voice, or my producer at the time, but also just from Sam and from friends of the show and fans of the show. So I ended up kind of getting back into it. And after a couple of episodes, I came back strong and was really happy with how everything went. But I kind of just thought, like, what would have happened if I didn't keep going with this? All the stories I write come from well, what if this happened? Or what if this didn't happen? And I was sitting there. I don't even remember what I was doing. I was like sitting there thinking about the show and thinking about 7 years. No, what would happen if I had stopped? Well, when would I have stopped? The first time I had doubts, when was that? And it was like, okay, well, that was after episode 30. What if I stopped and then the next week there was a new episode? How would that work? How crazy would that be? And then it's like, all this time, you know, quote unquote, TJ Hodder's doing the Hodder Show, but not me. And it was just such a far-fetched, silly idea. But I was like, you know what? Like, let's run with this. Let's see how it would go. And then it was like, okay, well, how would you justify that to yourself? So obviously I talk about, you know, maybe I was suffering from multiple personality disorder or short-term memory loss or whatever. But it's like, nope, for whatever reason, it's not me. And it's like, well, and then it's this entity that's doing it, that's, you know, identifying as TJ Hodder, but it's not actually me. And then I thought to myself, okay, so then if I tuned into the show, what would I hear? So of course, just straight screaming I thought was pretty much a no-brainer. I don't know who's screaming, but it just was such an interesting thought. And then what about the video stuff? When you guys tune in, you see me. When I tune in, I see that version of me just staring at the computer screen, smiling, and just, I don't know. I thought it was just such a fun idea. And it's an interesting look at what could have been with the show if I did let those feelings of self-doubt take over, because the show would have ended at that time period. Obviously, it wouldn't have actually kept going with like an evil entity running the podcast. But I thought it was such a fun thing. And a couple of my patrons hit me up and said, like, they weren't one of my patrons, who remained nameless, admitted to me that they didn't think it was going to be as good as it was. And I didn't really hype it. I shared it and was like, hey, here's a kind of a fun CreepyPasta. It's not meant to be taken seriously. It's just a fun little story. But apparently my delivery of it was frightening enough that it was like, holy shit, okay. And then it's like, well, what would you do if this was actually happening? I would be asking people to report it and block it and no, don't follow it on social media. Don't spread the word. Like, oh my God, no. Like, this can't happen. It can't spread because what if someone else sees what I see or hears what I hear? Like, that can't happen. You know, and then just ending off, my name is TJ Hodder, and I stressed whoever is doing the podcast is not me. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed creating it. I do wish I could have come up with the idea a little sooner, so I could have maybe just tweaked a couple of things. But sometimes I think capturing a thought like that and lightning in a bottle, so to speak, is a lot of fun. I don't like to go back and re-record things or whatever. I like to just keep things as they are. And this is going to be a really special episode of Taped with Trepidation going forward. Tape number 16. Just a blast. A lot of fun. There's other things we do for fun over on the Patreon. If you are a member of my Patreon family and also have Discord, we like to go on Discord and have live chats and things of that nature. I actually have one of those coming up this Saturday, and I'm super excited about that. So again, if you want to be a part of the Patreon family, get exclusive access to 17 episodes and more on the way of Taped with Trepidation. Check out patreon.com/The Hodder Show. Once we hit our goal of $100 a month USD, which we're very close to, I'm going to launch a merch store with some exclusive new designs. I cannot wait for that. I'm hoping we hit that goal soon. And also, I'll hype it up right now. If I hit my goal, I'm going to probably do a couple special episodes of Taped with Trepidation just as a little thank you. So, for example, that month, if I want to do 1 or 2 or 3 episodes, which is pretty much my normal output, I might do 5 because I'm crazy and love doing it. So just some food for thought. And of course, I would be remiss if I did not take a second to give a thank you to the Hodheads, my Patreon family. I apologize, guys, that I don't have my normal HUDs and all that stuff. That registry and loudness of my voice is just not, it's not there. But I want to still give a shout out to everybody. We, of course, have Scat. We have Ronan Kumori of the Baseline Feed podcast. We have Wolf Delta Pi. We have Eric Phones. We have Arthur Unk. We have Mike Quintero of Shudder Radio. C.M. Peters of Baseline Feed. Jason Reese from Jaybird Digital Arts. Terry and Janet Hodder. Brandon Bowden from Bowden Voice. And Neil Skarupa. Thank you guys so much for all the support. You know how much I love you and I appreciate you. And thank you so much for listening if you're still listening. This was a really fun thing for me to do and to kind of break down afterwards. I hope that you guys could enjoy this fun creepypasta that I wrote for the podcast. Definitely something I've never done before. I don't know if I'll ever do anything like that again. But if you enjoyed it, hit me up. Let me know. Give me a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Leave a rating for this podcast if you can, as ratings do help us grow. And tune in next week because I've got a badass interview that I'm doing this weekend. Come hell or high water, we're going to be back to form. I cannot wait. I know this year has been a little weird so far with the Hodder Show. We've had kind of some bumps in the road. Now this damn sickness has thrown a wrench in everything, but we're still going to keep on kicking ass, rolling. What did I just say? Kicking ass, rolling, taking names, rolling. Limp Bizkit. Would I be the air ride vehicle or urban assault vehicle version of rolling? Anyway, back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Haha, see what I did there? Sorry, guys. I am punchy as hell. I have taken some NyQuil. I need to go to bed. Thank you so very much for tuning in for all the support. I love you guys. And I will catch you next time right here on The Hodder Show. Take it easy, guys. And by the way, I can assure you, this is the real TJ Hodder.
Or is it?